One of the main myths against pelvic steaming, I guess, is you don't need to do that. The vagina or the uterus is a self-cleansing organ. And of course, it's true. It is a self-cleansing organ, but it's only self-cleansing to the degree it needs to be when it's functioning optimally. And we all know that a lot of us are having periods and cycles that are incredibly painful, incredibly long, or incredibly short. So with all of those things, we know that things are not necessarily functioning optimally, in which case we want to support that process.
Welcome to Wild Flow, the podcast with me, your host, Charlotte Pointeau. I'm a wild feminine cycle coach here for the awakened woman who is ready to reclaim her body, menstrual cycle and feminine power, and to live, love and lead in flow with nature's wisdom. In this podcast, I'll share how you can live in sync with your menstrual cycle and life seasons, heal your relationship with your womb and rites of passages, and embody your wild feminine as a multi-passionate woman in life, mothering and business. It's your time to flourish as a cyclical being in this modern world. Are you ready? Let's flow. On this episode of Wild Flow, I invited Toyah Hicks to come and speak to us about womb steaming. Toyah is a pelvic steaming practitioner, a birth trauma support worker, a postpartum doula in training, and mama to her 16-month-old son. She is committed to the reawakening of feminine consciousness and the reclamation of our sacred rites of passage. Toyah is soon to launch her business Rose Womb Steaming, offering vaginal steaming stools, herbs, and consultations. Toyah is based in New Zealand, and I connected with her over Instagram after my curiosity and new practice in womb or pelvic steaming, as she prefers to call it, took off, and I was looking for more information and found her beautiful Instagram pages where she shares on all things about her womb priestess work and steaming and the benefits, the uses, how to do it, different conditions that you might have that can be supported through steaming. And I just felt so called to reach out and invite Toyah to come and speak on the podcast to share with you how you can get started, why you might get started, the physical benefits as well as the spiritual aspects as well, and how you can connect to your ancestors, your lineage, the women before you through this ancient practice of steaming. I hope that you love this conversation, and I'd be really curious to hear afterwards what you took from it, whether you already steam, and if you don't steam, then whether you now feel like you might. So please leave a comment or contact me on Instagram, leave a DM or comment on the post sharing this episode. Let me know, or even leave a review or comment on this podcast about what you took from this episode and how you feel about steaming. I'd love to know. Okay, enjoy, my loves. Okay, welcome Toyah to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'm so excited to chat to you about womb steaming. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you. So as always, I love to begin our conversations with a cycle day check-in, and I just would love to offer you the chance to share if you're happy to, and if you have a cycle, where you are in your cycle roughly, or what day or what season you're in, and just how that feels for you today.
Beautiful. I love that. Today I am day 11, so I am moving into ovulation, which feels beautiful. I timed this booking in with this podcast for that time because I just knew that it's when I have the most energy and feel the most vibrant, and also a time where I feel I can best articulate myself, I guess. So yeah, that was planned.
I love that. I love that you planned that. That's really fun. I didn't. I mean, I obviously allowed you to book in when it suited you, but my cycle's been so long and irregular, and I've just had like 80-day cycles for the last few, and I never quite know when I'm ovulating or what. So today is day 40, but I actually think I popped to the bathroom earlier on and I was like the faintest sign of a little bit of pink, and I thought, oh, are you coming today? Are you coming?
Yes.
And it's full moon as well, and so that would be my shortest cycle in so long, if that's what happens. So I put my period pants on, and I just feel I have been feeling like I've been premenstrual for the last week, but yesterday I had a huge burst of energy, and I thought maybe I didn't ovulate and I'm actually gearing back up to ovulate again. So my boobs feel sore and I feel like this slowing. So I feel like our energies could be quite opposite to each other, but they complement each other still beautifully.
Yeah, beautiful. Let's call your blood in then.
Yeah.
Together, call it in.
Thank you. I would really love my blood to arrive today. That would just feel lovely.
Yes, the relief.
The relief and the release, and also in a way like a stronger connection with my body, because my sense has been that I've been premenstrual, and in a way like that being kind of affirmed would feel quite lovely, to be like, I'm reading the signs of my body and I'm working out where I'm at. And because before I've thought I'm definitely premenstrual, and then nothing's happened for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah, I love that feeling when our body, when we're tuned in, we feel in sync and we get those messages, and that connection deepens even further, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And it sort of builds up like a sense of trust and knowing and being at home in our bodies as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm grateful for you calling in my blood with me. Thank you.
With you, sister.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about all kinds of things, but at the core of it is you and your work. And I found you on Instagram with your steaming account, and you're setting up a business, aren't you, to create womb steaming stools and herbs and consultations. And steaming for me is something that it's very new to me as a practice. I've heard of it for a long time, but I've only started having a personal practice very, very recently. And I tried it for the first time this year on a women's retreat, and it was beautiful. And I knew that we were going to do it, but I had a sense of trepidation around it. I was almost a bit kind of nervous and a bit unsure about what to expect and how it would feel. And it was really interesting. My work is very much about guiding women to feel at home with their bodies and understand and connect and honor their bodies and their wombs and their cycles. And there was a faint part of me that, full transparency, was a little bit like, we were just going to sit around like steaming in a circle. Like that's okay. Like, okay, how do I feel about that? And it was really curious. But we did, and we were out in the forest, and the woman who's a friend and a woman I really admire, and she was leading the retreat, and she guided us all on a drum journey while we all steamed in the bush, and it was just beautiful. And that was my first time steaming. I was like, oh, what is this? I was like, I like it. It just felt really felt like there was some healing in it for me, and I moved through some layer of shame or disconnection that I didn't know was there. And so that kind of opened my eyes to this practice that lots of women do, and that I hear talked about more and more. Perhaps maybe that's just through the people I follow on Instagram and the women who I've been on retreat with. But yeah, that was really how I came to it. And so now I think really differently about it, and I'm really curious. I have a lot of curiosity. And when I shared my first at-home steam with a stool that I had received, and I made a beautiful ritual out of it, and I shared that on Instagram, and I said, there were lots of questions, lots of comments and questions. And I said, oh, okay, would you be interested to learn more about this? And there was this big, yes, we'd love to. So I sense that there's I don't know if this is just me, and I don't speak for everybody, but there's a sense of curiosity about steaming that I understand is an ancient practice, but it's like we're kind of bringing it out of the shadows and hiding into being more of a mainstream, slightly more mainstream practice, slightly more.
Working on it.
So I'm just to set the scene. That's why I'm so excited to chat to you today, as somebody who this is your work, this is your practice. And I'd just love to ask to begin this conversation. Ask you, would you share with us in your words what steaming is, what it is, what it's about, and your journey to where you are today in your relationship with steaming?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. So typically we hear steaming referred to as yoni steaming or vaginal steaming. But I am sort of moving towards using the term pelvic steaming for a couple of reasons. I firstly think it's a more inclusive term, so I'm trying to use that. And also it's perhaps better describes the practice itself, the steam accessing more than just the vagina, but the whole pelvic area. So yeah, my journey with pelvic steaming began, I'm going to say maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I was on a mission to understand and learn everything I could about the womb and cyclical living and menstruation and all of these beautiful things that we love. And I discovered steaming. And so I began a practice. And at that time, I had no real links to any particular lineage. I knew that steaming had been found in almost every continent across the world, and that it was a very old practice, but I didn't have a personal connection at that time as far as my own lineage goes. And so I began my practice, and it was sort of on and off for a couple of years, but I felt as though I was missing something, and it felt important to, I guess, delve a little bit deeper into what that was. And at some point, I sort of had an aha moment, and that moment was aligned with my own journey of reconnecting with my Māori whakapapa, my Māori lineage. And I had this moment where it was like, of course my ancestors practiced this, of course they did. And it felt so true in my bones. And so I did the first thing that I'm sure most people do, and I asked in a Facebook group the Facebook group is dedicated to rongoa, which is Māori medicine. And I went there first because, I'm not connected with many Māori elders. Otherwise, I would go there. But at this time in my life, I didn't have that connection. So, yeah, I went to the Facebook group and I asked, did our ancestors practice this? I've discovered this amazing, amazing thing. And about 90% of the responses I got were kind of negative, like, no, of course not, kind of thing. Then there was a couple in there that were like, well, maybe, but there was no real solid answer. And I guess I felt a little bit deflated. but something in me said, just keep looking, keep exploring. And so I asked the atua, or the gods and goddesses, for a sign. And then around a couple of years ago, my mum sent me, I was living in Australia at the time, and my mum sent me an image that she had found in a book, and it was an illustration of a Māori wahine, Māori woman, sitting over a harakeke mat. It's like a flax mat, and underneath was hot stones and herbs laid out on them, and she was covered with a cloak and allowing the steam to permeate her body, and she wasn't wearing any clothes. So I knew that this was steaming for the pelvic area. And I guess that was my sign, it was like, oh yeah, okay. And so I'm very much still on that journey of learning about this practice in relation to my own lineage. And I'm really open and honest with my community that I'm on that journey, and it's not easy to find information about it. We have been colonized, that wisdom was taken away. And so it's an act of reclamation for me to rediscover this practice in my own lineage. And at the same time, I just deepened my own practice. I found my own way with it. I didn't necessarily have a reference point or a guide, but I found my own way, and really deepened into my practice pre-conception. So my partner and I wanted to conceive, and we wanted it to be a really conscious process. So I began the kind of my preparation, and pelvic steaming was part of that preparation. And that's really when my practice came alive, I guess, for me in a whole new way. And that was also the time that my partner built my first steaming stool. Amazing. And he built it, and it was like, oh, wow, everyone needs one of these, And I guess that was kind of the start of our little business venture together. So,
Thank you so much for sharing. I love that. And how's that for a sign? That's not something you can kind of go, oh, I want to interpret it that way, so I'm going to. Like, that's pretty clear.
Yeah,
how special.
It was very clear.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you are reclaiming this lost wisdom for yourself, and that you have used this practice as part of your conscious conception and connecting to your body and your womb, but you're also, sharing that back with your community as well, and as well as with the wider community, through your business. I think that's really, really special and so powerful to be bringing back something that's lost. And that was my understanding too, that ancestors and cultures for many traditions and parts of the world have this ancient practice of steaming, from what I understand. So it's not tied to one lineage in particular, but I'm sure people would have come to it differently, or perhaps, I don't know, maybe used herbs differently, or just connected with its, in their own ways. But I love the fact that it's something that perhaps we can all connect with and all feel that connection to something past as well. And for me, I am English in origin. I live in Australia, but I don't really have a connection with my lineage, to be honest. I think it's something that I'm trying to really cultivate and explore, and there's just not in my family, beyond a great grandmother, that kind of point. There's been no real connection that's been shared with me. So I'm doing this for myself, trying to connect back in. And I really feel that, you know, tools like this that connect you into your body and your womb can be really powerful for connecting into something that's really ancient and feminine. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. One of my teachers, Steamy Chick, Kelly Garza, you can follow her. I think her IG is at Steamy Chick. I'm sure you already do. But for those listening, she actually has a map on her website with all of the locations that steaming has been found around the world.
Wow.
So yeah, check that out because it's really amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll definitely have a look. Yeah. Oh, so I would love to ask. So the very basics for anyone who's not come across steaming before, essentially it's sitting on a pot of steam water, and you can put different herbs in there, right? Yep. Herbs to release their oils, their botanical oils that have got different properties, and sitting there for a period of time. And like you said, wearing a cloak or a skirt or wrapping a towel or a blanket around to keep that steam in so that it can access your pelvis. And I love how you said pelvis, because I've also heard, I think I saw it on the Steamy Chick Instagram, that this is something that men can do too. It's not gender.
Yeah, no,
specific.
It's not gender specific. Anybody can do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So beyond connecting with ancestors and, you know, you talked about conscious conception, what are some other reasons that somebody might want to steam?
So I guess probably the main, as far as history goes, and from what I can tell, the main time for steaming would be in the postpartum period. So to help with helping the womb contract back down to size, helping with any healing any grazing or tearing from the birth itself. So that's probably where it's most commonly known throughout different cultures. However, I would love to talk to you today about in relation to menstruation, because that's really where my passion lies, and I'm sure that a lot of your listeners are curious to hear how steaming can help someone and their cycles.
Yeah, maybe let's do it. Let's go there.
Yeah. So essentially, steaming's going to help the cycles by increasing circulation to the pelvic area, and when we increase circulation, we can help to remove stagnation, old blood from the uterine lining, from the uterus walls. And that helps us to have a better period, essentially. We're going to clear out old blood that has gathered up over previous cycles. So one of the, and I think we should touch on this, is one of the main myths against pelvic steaming, I guess, is you don't need to do that. The vagina or the uterus is a self-cleansing organ.
Yeah, I totally heard that one. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And of course it's true. It is a self-cleansing organ, but it's only self-cleansing to the degree it needs to be when it's functioning optimally. And we all know that a lot of us are having periods and cycles that are incredibly painful, incredibly long, or incredibly short. So with all of those things, we know that things are not necessarily functioning optimally, in which case we want to support that process. And that's where steaming comes in. That's how we can support. And I think, we support other organs if they're not functioning optimally.
So true.
We do things to support those. So why would we not want to support the uterus?
Yeah. So, and I heard, was it on your page or some very recently in the last couple of days, I read something that was talking about how we use tampons and menstrual cups and how they are obviously internal products and they stop the blood flow, which can increase stagnation. Is that right? And is that can that contribute to like the buildup of the lining, or just that energy and that flow not cleansing and the muscles not emptying, being able to empty out? And so this being able to help with that. Is that, I got that kind of right?
Definitely. So that can be part of why we're not having a proper cleanse, is there may be things inhibiting that. And that can be anything from, diet, or tampons. They're not necessarily great because they absorb all the blood, they also absorb all of the good bacteria and natural wetness and all of those things. And I think cups are great, they can be really good, but I wouldn't recommend using them, for the whole period. Maybe if you feel that you need to use one, go for it. But I'm a big fan of period panties and reusable pads. Even just for the energetics of letting that blood flow, I think it's really important. Even on an energetic level, like we want that downward flow. So that's, I guess we talk about proper period care, and that is something that I would recommend for sure, and that's absolutely going to help support that uterine cleanse.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I hadn't really thought about that until quite recently, that I had used cups for quite a long time. And I mean, I love period underwear. I love it. But on heavy days, I would use both. And the more I've become aware of it, the more I've thought, actually, I don't want to put anything in there. I want to let it all just flow. And I really love wearing my period underwear. And sometimes I wear them when it's not my period days, because they're just they're
comfy.
Like black and lacy and comfy, and they can be good at ovulation as well. That
absolutely.
real wetness. So but I was curious because you were saying about really long cycles, and my cycles have been really long, and that's definitely linked to breastfeeding. I'm breastfeeding my little one, and so my hormones are not in the right balance to be regularly ovulating. But for somebody who's got a long cycle or a short cycle, does the steaming help with ovulation, or is it more that cleansing and toning of the muscle or the lining?
Yeah, so the steaming, this is the interesting thing about herbs and steaming, is because obviously there's a lot of herbs on the market. You can just go online and buy some sort of general herbs for anyone to steam with. And while I don't necessarily disagree with that, I think that if we have specific things that we want to target, for example, long cycles or short cycles, then we want to be specific in the herbs that we use, so that we can get the most out of our practice, essentially. So for something like a long cycle, we're going to want to use like an amenagogue, so something that's going to help move blood. An example of that would be motherwort or rose, perhaps. However, if we have short cycles or spontaneous bleeding, so we're spotting a lot throughout the month, then we want to use something that's going to slow down or stop bleeding. An example of that would be like mugwort, for example. Or if we're dealing with something like vaginal dryness, then we're going to want to use more of a moisturizing herb. An example, maybe nettles. Or nettle. So it can be dependent, and I guess that's why I always recommend working with a practitioner as well, because that's where we can get the most out of our steaming journey. And if not that, then really doing the research about what herbs we're using and why we're using them. And as a sort of another layer on top of that, I guess from a more spiritual perspective, is I really like to connect with my herbs before I create the steam blend and sort of meditate with them and connect with the energy of herb, because they're allies, and we want to, connect with them and set our intention to.
Beautiful.
Sorry, I went a little bit off track there, but
no, let's go there. That's thank you for sharing that. I think that's really important to make the distinction that you can use a general blend, but that might be more for, like, that's not necessarily for specific the health benefits side, but there's a lot that you can do when really consciously choosing your plants and your herbs, and using it as medicine, plant medicine, to really support your womb and your cycle, to whatever it might be, as you were saying, some different examples there. I think that's really important. So I had been given a more generalized blend with the stool that I had got, but I believe it's got mugwort and nettle, and I can't remember what else is in it. I'll have to go and check, but I'm really curious now. I think it's, I remember feeling like I wanted to know what was in there and what it was for, and I did at the time, but I've forgotten. So is that something that you make? Like you make the blends, you have the consultations, and you'll be able to kind of like prescribe, really, as like a proper practitioner.
So essentially that's what's happening. Before someone books a consultation, or when they book, I send an intake form, and that goes over your history with your menstrual cycle and how long your cycles typically are, if they're shorter or longer, or if you're prone to infections. And there's quite a few different questions in there, and then that will help me determine which herbs you need and which are going to be the best for you. And that can be something that can be adjusted as we go along, depending on what your needs are. But I'm really passionate about this, like getting really specific about what we need. And in your case, you mentioned at the start of our conversation that your cycle has maybe become shorter since. Is that since you've steamed?
Actually. Now you mention it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so there we are.
I didn't make that connection. But you know what? Now you mention it, the last time I steamed would have been a couple of weeks ago, and I remember steaming and then afterwards feeling really moist, like really wet in my vagina and vulva, and I thought, like, it felt it wasn't steam damp, like I felt more juicy and more like more cervical fluid, and I thought, is that coincidence or is that a thing? And I was like, no, because it was very specific, like it really it was like definitely a thing. It wasn't just my imagination. So if I did ovulate at that point 2 weeks ago, and if I do bleed today, then that would all make sense. So that's really curious. I feel, when I said before, I've been feeling premenstrual. I've had sore breasts. My energy's been slowing, but I've had no PMS, no cramps, no soreness anywhere else. Like absolutely no difficult premenstrual like niggles or sensations or symptoms, if you want to call them symptoms. And that's, I reckon, because my last cycle was 85 days, so I think it was in that period that I started steaming. Yeah, it would have definitely been.
Okay, beautiful. So let's after, perhaps once you next bleed, maybe after again, do another steam, and we'll see if you can get those cycles back down to
that's
28
really
days, I guess.
Yeah. So is that a point you can't steam while you're bleeding?
Yeah, so that would be what I would call contraindication, not with fresh menses. So that's a time that you don't want to steam. Another time would be if you are trying to conceive, then obviously you don't want to be steaming post-ovulation. During pregnancy, However, a lot of birthing people use steaming for labour preparation once they're past full term, so right at the end.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I think it would be really beautiful practice. It's not something I chose to do, but I know that a lot of women do. So yeah. Trying to think if there's any other times when not to steam. There's a few other soft contraindications, like if you've had ablation as a form of contraception, because it's possible that steaming can heal scar tissue. Yeah.
Right.
So
wow.
then you could, so then you could become pregnant. So yeah, there's a few situations.
So would steaming be supportive for people with I'm thinking of like endometriosis just popped into mind. You know, you're talking about like scarring tissue or
absolutely
any, you know, more conditions that are internal in the womb of like fibroids or cysts or anything like that. I'm just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. All of those things. Fibroids especially, I know that there's been a lot of great results with steaming. And the other amazing thing about it is it's such a gentle practice. It's non-invasive. And so I would absolutely recommend to anyone to give steaming a try, you know, and see if that can be supportive for you.
I love that. I'm going to start telling everybody. Like, you listen to this episode and go and get yourself a steam stool and some herbs. That's amazing. So beyond the physical, you know, we've talked about connecting with ancestors, but I know that you really love to use steaming as more of a practice to connect you inwards as well, to like your intuition and like your inner knowing. And I'd love to ask you about that. Like how does that work for you, or how does that help you to connect inwards?
Yeah, let me just feel into that one for a moment, because it's a good question and I want to really honor that. I think for me, my steaming practice it's been a part of a wider, I guess, theme in my life of really, really desiring to live intuitively and heart-led, womb-led. And for me, that's looked different in lots of areas of my life. But when it comes to my health and my well-being and my body, I really want to live so connected to my body that, you know, she speaks to me, my womb speaks to me, my heart speaks to me, and we're in relationship and we're in constant communication. So I guess that really began when I was in that preconception phase, and I asked my body, you know, like, what do you need? And I asked my womb, what do you need? And it was really, the response I got was like, I need to be cleansed. I need to be cleared out. And so I began that steaming practice. And I hadn't had really bad periods prior to that, but they became really beautiful periods, no cramping, just 4 days of beautiful, bright, healthy blood. And yeah, I did that for quite a few months before conceiving. And that was really, I guess, the pinnacle of like, okay, I am in a relationship with my body. We can communicate. My womb speaks to me. She lets me know what she needs. And that sort of followed throughout my pregnancy and my birth. I chose to have, I guess people call it a wild pregnancy, but it was just intuitively led, you know. And then I had an unassisted birth with my son. And that trusting that my body will let me know what I need and when I need it. And it's not about not involving myself in Western medicine or anything like that, and only doing what my ancestors did. It's not about that. It's about letting intuition lead the way and deciding what I needed that way. And yeah, steaming is one of the things that my body asked for. And then, so I didn't steam throughout my pregnancy, but then again postpartum. So yeah, I think it was just the practice that really connected me with my intuition, and that knowing that is how I so desire to live my life.
I just feel so I feel really grounded and calm listening to that, and just really nourished on the inside. I think your story's really powerful, really beautiful, especially at this time of, when kind of have this fear almost for birthing people at the minute with COVID, and what that means to be pregnant and to birth now, with the conditions that we're in and the ways that we're being separated from our rights and our choices and our preferences and our inner knowing as well. And just hearing you speaking about how you cleansed and healed your cycle with steaming before, and then consciously conceiving after having lots of beautiful cycles, and then being pregnant and birthing, and I'm sure raising your boy now in a way that's very much in line with your womb's wisdom and your inner knowing and your intuition, and feeling really grounded and connected to that and strong. Just feels like the medicine that we all need right now. And I love that steaming is part of that, but I just really feel like the more women that we can have who feel strong and self-trusting in themselves now, better for them and their babies, but for the world as well.
It truly is my greatest prayer, and a prayer that I hold in my being every day, is that we all come to know that we have this opportunity, to connect with ourselves in this way, and that we are supported to do so, because it's a community effort,
Yeah.
We're individual bodies, but we truly are a collective. And yeah, it is just my greatest wish that we could all live this way.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. I was just thinking, in terms of I just had this thought. It's slight tangent from what we were just saying, but I remember when I tried steaming the first time, we took the tea afterwards and the herbs, and we made an offering back to the earth afterwards. And I feel like, you said about, I think you mentioned about, with your intentions through steaming as well, of really creating this practice where we're, you can use it in ritual and in devotion to, like you said, the world you want to live in, the way you want to live, the way you desire to live. And I feel like, steaming as a ritual is a really beautiful way of doing that. Would you give us a glimpse into how you set yourself up for steaming, and how like any ritual that you might have?
Yeah, absolutely. I just have to say before I do that picturing you out in the forest steaming in a circle was just the most glorious visual. And I thought to myself, like, why have I not done any steaming outside? Because I've never steamed outside. So that will be the next thing I'm doing. Is setting
It was
up
very
outside.
special. All the birds and in the trees and the wind, and because there were quite a few of us, she didn't have stools for everyone, so we had milk crates. We sat on milk crates with a board, and she just carved a heart shape into it to sit on. But it was essentially just a milk crate, but it wasn't the most comfortable. But it's a bit different to having an actual steam stool, but you can just steam, can't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's another beautiful thing about steaming is it's an accessible practice. You can grow your own herbs. All you need is hot, clean water and herbs, and you can kneel over the bowl. It's not necessarily that comfortable, but it's absolutely doable.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Back to your question, your answer. Sorry, you were just.
Yes, that's right. We're tracking back to
your ritual. That's all right. We'll just spiral around.
Okay, I'm gonna share with you one of my preconception steaming rituals because it really stands out. And now that I think about it, I think it might stand out because it was perhaps the last steam I did before I conceived. But I was in my room in Melbourne, and I had a big, beautiful altar that my partner and I had created for our conception journey. And we had candles on there and just like beautiful photos of goddesses and letters that we had written to our spirit baby, our son. And I set my steaming stool up in front of that. And I had some beautiful herbs, cleansing herbs. And I had a journal and some water. And I journaled. And I feel like I wrote to my spirit baby, calling them in and calling him in, because I did call him in and he came. And I wrote him a little letter. And I think something in me knew that would be my last steam before conceiving, which also meant my last steam for quite a long time, another like 11 months probably until I steamed again. So it was a really, really beautiful time. I hope that I will always remember that. So thank you for reminding me, because I may not have thought about that. Thank you.
That's so very, very special. Thank you for sharing. And if anybody's listening who is trying to conceive, or at any point in their journey, just connecting in with their womb, their body, their cycle, I think creating your own ritual and using some of those ideas. I just think that sounds so special. And candles and altar space and setting your intention for your steam. And when I last steamed, I picked some, it was the new moon. Yeah. So I picked 4 cards, one for each phase of the moon for the next moon cycle. There's all kinds of things you can do. And then I journaled a lot afterwards and found that I had a lot to ride after that. Yeah.
Actually, that's probably also something to mention, is that steaming can also bring up like a big emotional release. So it absolutely works on the physical, but I have noted that it can bring up emotions to the surface that need to be released. And so if you ever have that experience, or anyone listening ever has that experience, just to sit with that and offer yourself that loving compassion and care, and know that that's occurring for a reason.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. Oh, well, lovely. Before we wrap, is there anything that you would love to share? Anything else to add about your work or steaming that you would like the listeners to know?
I would love for anyone listening to know how powerful your intention is, and how powerful you are, and that you are safe to be powerful, and you are safe to set clear intentions, and you are safe to reconnect with your body and your womb, and to know that you are divinely supported. Yes.
I received that too. I feel tears behind my eyes receiving that. That's beautifully channeled and gratefully received. Thank you. That's very special. Oh, what a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you.
So if anyone would love to connect with you, you are on Instagram. You have 2 accounts, don't you? You have your steaming page is at Rose Womb Steaming, and your other page for all of your other beautiful womb healing and priestess work, which we haven't really touched on actually, is your Rose Womb Healing on Facebook. What's your other Instagram page though?
So it's at rosewomb_X.
X, beautiful.
Yeah, for a kiss.
Gorgeous. And you're going to be launching your site soon to offer stools and your herbs and consultations, is that right?
Yeah, very soon. I'm hoping a couple of weeks. COVID has slowed us down quite a bit, but we're trusting the divine timing, and it'll happen exactly when it's meant to happen.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much, Toyah. It's been such an honor and a joy.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening in. If you're loving this podcast and you'd love to help me spread the wisdom shared, please leave a review or rating, or share this with somebody who you think would love to listen in. I'm really passionate about creating ripples of change and getting this information to more women, girls, and people with a cycle so that they can reclaim their cyclic natures too. And if you'd love to dive in deeper with learning more about how to connect with your cycle and rites of passages, come and join our free Wild Flow Circle community, or choose a course and learn with me on my online learning hub. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, be well and go with the flow of your cyclic nature.